Hi all, welcome to yet another Koot podcast series where we where we discuss global SaaS adoption trends, tech adoption trends with global industry leaders. And today we have an incredible guest with us, Mr. Ravikanth Eranki from Cargill. So Ravikant plays a talent acquisition leadership role at Cargill and he advocates regularly for diversity and inclusivity at Cargill, and he has more than 2 decades of experience in the talent acquisition space. So let's welcome Ravikant. Hi, Ravi. Thank you so much for taking out time for us. It really means a lot for us and for the audience. I'm really looking forward to this podcast, Ravi.
Yeah, thank you so much, firstly, for the warm invite that you have shared with me. I'm very happy to be here. Talent acquisition is is a great topic, and obviously there is always some action. So I think it will be great to discuss, share some ideas, and work together.
Absolutely. So, like I said, I'm really looking forward to listen to a lot of your strategies, your mantras in talent acquisition. So, let's start with your understanding your current role at Cargill, Ravi, and your brief career history, Cargill, Ravi.
Sure. So basically, I bring about 2 decades of experience. I started off as an executive search recruiting professional. Then I moved to core executive search. I did a lot of independent consulting and then joined Cargill about 6 years ago. My initial role was, of course, leading talent acquisition for the capability center, and then I also took over hiring for our enterprises across South Asia as a region. Just a month ago, of course, I've moved into a new role, which is into early careers for APAC as a region. So that's, of course, a long journey cut short for you.
Sure, sure. No, thanks for sharing that, Ravi. So let's start with this. You have seen, multiple, roles from small enterprise to as large as Cargill, right? So, what are your initial unique challenges that you faced at Cargill, especially in the talent acquisition space? And as you mentioned, you were other than India, also you were taking care. So, any specific challenges that was very much particular to the local industry over there, Ravi?
Yeah. So Cargill, when I started off with Cargill, I think one of the biggest challenges we had, or at least we reckoned, is people didn't know us very well,
Yeah.
especially in this region. So when I used to call, introducing myself as Ravi from Cargill, people used to relate it to the Cargill War.
Yeah.
But from there, we have kind of, kind of invested in greater employee value proposition. And as we went through today, after 5 years, I can tell you that Cargill is relevantly more known in the market in India, especially in the GCC space. We are
Yeah.
one of the largest GCCs. And I think our employees and candidates actually who have interacted with us became our brand ambassadors to
Oh.
actually tell about to their friends, to their family about what we do and all that. So I think one of the key challenges when I started was, of course, about how do you present Cargill, right?
Mm.
Um, Secondly, when we started off, we were scaling up. So I think the second challenge was to really put recruitment processes and develop a very good governance and framework to actually embrace the kind of recruitment we did. So on a yearly basis, we were hiring, let's say, at a peak, we hired about 1,400 in a year. So when I started off, we were hiring 350, 400 in a year. So I think that whole journey to manage that scale, how do you
Yeah.
build your systems and processes to
Mm.
deliver that was another challenge. Thirdly, I think, so we basically to set up that entire end-to-end recruiting process, I think was the thing. Thirdly, team, right? We need to
Yeah.
build the right team to deliver this kind of uh, volume requirement that is coming up. So building a team uh, to recruit, to bring talent into the organization, setting up all this was the third key aspect of where we focused. Fourth one was to enhance candidate and hiring manager experience was another key area for us. Candidate experience also is very important, especially
Mm.
in a talent market like India. And of course, it is also the core value that anybody who touches Cargill, like TA has multiple touch
Yeah.
points, internal and external. And we wanted to make every experience a positive experience for somebody who's touching the TA team. I think those four were the initial challenges, or I wouldn't say complete challenges, but yeah, the approach that we took on some of the things we did.
Sure. No, absolutely. I can really imagine. So, initially, which were the states in which Cargill established, Ravi? And how did you have your own campus recruitment team and they used to go to the colleges? How was the initial hiring happening other than the
Uh,
freshers? I mean,
Okay, so I think Cargill initially. I mean, the GCC was in Bangalore. We have another GCC in Gurgaon as well.
yeah,
But Bangalore is truly the largest global capability center. And furthermore, we have the enterprises, the food business, the animal health business,
yeah,
wherein we hire, there are many multiple offices across India that cater to the regional market nuances as well.
yeah.
So that's where we started off. So actually, Cargill India as an enterprise was always there. When I joined, of course, I managed the global capability center first, and then after 2 3 years, we started taking care of all the regional requirements as well. That's
Okay.
how it started. So as regarded to campus, so in the initial phases, we didn't do a much of campus. We were more focused on laterals as we were building
Lateral hiring. Got it.
lateral
Yeah,
hiring because we were building the team. But in
yeah.
the last 3 years, I think we invested quite a bit on our fresher or campus hiring. That is to bring in the right talent because they become our future leaders, and we invested quite a bit on that. We actually ran an integrated campus nationally. We hired about 80 to 100 uh,
Oh, big number.
freshers from
Mm.
campuses roughly in the region.
So it was an integrated means in Cargill itself you had a kind of training or I mean session for the freshers or
No,
how did
integrated meaning that we have multiple enterprises, right? So
yeah
we have, let's say, animal health and nutrition or
yeah
food trading or the
mm,
capability center. So instead of going as four different teams into different colleges and hiring,
yeah
actually we brought it together to say one Cargill, one India, one hiring kind of an
yeah
approach we took. Actually,
perfect
where we integrated our approach, our requirement actually across campuses, and we started working together towards going as one organization to attract talent, and then we deploy internally across
internally
various
okay
streams. Yeah.
okay and how was the attrition I mean were the how long were the freshers staying in the organization Ravi.
No, our attrition was very low, I would say. I think people enjoy working with Cargill for sure, especially the people who joined from campus who are
Mm,
looking for an opportunity for campus to Cargill or campus to corporate, sorry,
mm,
kind of a transition is
mm.
very beautiful here because I think number one, Cargill obviously is a global company, and the people
Yeah.
practices and the culture actually are wonderful for
Yeah.
anybody, and for a campus, for somebody joining from campus, it is all the more going to be very exciting. Secondly, global scale, right? You get
Yeah.
opportunities to work with different cultures,
Yeah.
different people from various countries. Also work on global scale products. You understand a
Yeah.
little more on global how Cargill operates globally. So that's another interesting opportunity. So and of course the people, right?
Yeah.
The program itself, where our managers mentor, it is not like we do a 6 month classroom training and all that.
Mm.
Usually, our approach is to be on the job. You're coached, you're mentored, through distinct talent development programs that we put across. And there is a rotational job rotations as well. So
Okay.
I think as we do that, I think it's more personalized approach. So generally, we have not seen uh,
Achha.
great attrition. Yeah, before joining, maybe we saw a few, especially from campus,
Okay.
where where the offers get very competitive and things like
Mm.
that. But I, we haven't really seen attrition after we onboard.
No, that's wonderful. Now, this is opening up so many questions to me, Ravi. Now, you have briefly mentioned about, how you're able to manage the scale. You mentioned 8,300. Right? So, what is your, mantra or your framework, right? To scale, for the scale recruitment at the same time without losing the quality. How are you able to attract top talent at scale, quality talent, Ravi?
Yeah, I think the important factor there is frankly about having a very good plan, right? I
Mm.
think it's very important to have a solid plan to do quality recruitment. Secondly, it is also very important to have a structure for scale, right?
Mm.
So you need to create, let's say you need to create some talent pots, right?
Mm.
Where there is talent supply, where where is less talent supply, which are the skills which are highly competitive. All that is something we need to plan. And you need some insights from the market. You need your own internal insights. You need data to forecast, and you identify those talent gaps, right? And then you actually drive a smart sourcing strategy to actually put together, you know um, how am I looking at talent intelligence, for example, in that particular skill.
Mm.
What are my channels? How do I approach the channel, and so on, right? For example, in during my last role, we kind of created a very interesting channel mix, for to attract our talent for finance or technology. So we looked at, to get a candidate, of course, you have the regular channels, right? The employer referrals, the job
Oh,
portal,
get job portals.
get
Yeah.
all that. But the at least 3 4 years back, these finishing schools were coming up, and we actually did a lot of work with finishing schools to bring in talent. So we
Okay.
got experienced talent, we got as well as somebody who's skilled, right, for that particular role. Again, another area of talent which I really enjoy working is the 1 year MBA kind of a talent, right? Because
Okay.
they all bring domain experience. They all generally have the 5 year, 6 year work ex, and then
Mm.
they do an MBA, and then we are able to hire for a specific set of roles. So I think
Interesting.
you need to have a very good sourcing channel mix. You need to explore new ideas, and that's how you drive the whole strategy.
I
Yeah.
have two questions here, Ravi. So you mentioned about the finishing schools. So are the schools like the academies which are upskilling particular
Yeah.
areas?
Yeah.
like data science.
Upskilling, reskilling, not just, so there are two variants, right? One is skill level. One is also more just to, make them more professional, suave, and,
Mm, mm.
just change the outlook a little. And it's like the final polish you put to a product,
Yeah.
kind of a thing.
Okay.
While talent is, of course, not product, but something to, think about, and people can change the way they narrate, they think, and, it can give them those experiences. So,
Sure. Great. And so you will not know that where these students are coming from. They might be coming from tier two, tier one. So, I mean, if you had to tell how many students are you taking from tier two cities, you'll have any idea,
uh,
mix of.
while I know Tier 1, Tier 2 is a big debate going on in the market, frankly, I mean, as a TA lead, I actually look at talent.
Hmm.
Diverse backgrounds are important. I think diversity is very natural in a place like India. But I think I'm more looking at talent who fits,
Talent.
rather than, I don't see where they're coming from. Generally, we don't, I don't remember, we do track a little, but we don't really go very deep, because it doesn't matter until somebody is fit for the job. I
Yeah.
think that's good for us.
Sure, sure, Ravi. Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, because I advocate shifting the gears. But yeah, sorry, before that, because we are talking about these freshers and all, any specific observation in the Gen Z character category, Ravi? How, according to you, how are they approaching their careers? And any specific observation? What are their demands, and how are they facing the competitive world, Ravi?
Yeah, in every probably TA conference I go, I think Gen Z has become a very hot topic. Um, let's understand, I think Gen Z is an evolution, and now you are talking about alpha, beta, and it's further evolution, right?
Mm,
Uh, my personal view, this is my personal view, is that Gen Zs are here. Certainly, there are two things, right? We have a very traditional workforce related mindset that has developed over years. Maybe my generation and my next generation is maybe the bridge, people who are born just between 90s and 2000s. I'm maybe slightly before, but so we are that bridge, right? So India actually boasts of a multi-generational workforce, right? And we have been taught to think, do, act in a particular way. Uh,
mm,
we are conditioned, like if you're at work, you're at work. You give whatever it is, right? But Gen Z is a very different, uh, like how AI version 1, version 2 comes. I feel it is like that. So
okay.
they question they question, which is very good.
Okay.
I think I see more positives, because they want to have a perfect work-life balance. They want to enjoy, or go out and embrace life as much as they embrace work. They're also very sharp. I think they're also very sharp, and they obviously, they're I mean, there are a bit of nerves, but I think they're also more confident than the earlier generations. I feel Gen Z is also more self-confident. They can take it. Um, Cons wise, see, basically, in every generation of people, I found that there are always people who never, maybe don't work in that box, right? So
Mm.
obviously, that percentage could be more in Gen Z, I feel. They don't
They
stick
don't
to
want to
the
be.
regular norm
Uh,
that we think is there. But yeah, I mean, managing them, I think we are also learning. We are also to manage them. We are also definitely trying to put our best efforts. See,
any
in some
specific.
roles, you require a norm and discipline, right?
Yeah.
Suppose a Gen Z is joining the army, the rigor is very different.
Mm,
You join a holiday planning company, that rigor is very different.
yeah.
But for example, in a corporate world, customer focus is very important, right?
Yeah.
Whoever is your customer,
Yeah.
because ultimately, so it is like that. So it is a striking balance, but I don't find anything purely negative for
Mm.
sure. But definitely, I think we are equally learning, and we are also equally experimenting at this point of time to see how well we can transfer whatever knowledge, experience, and all that we have gained to the next generation. Uh, I think I'll sum it up that way.
Sure, sure. Thanks, Ravi. Is there an instance of, because you mentioned that you people are also learning, an instance of reverse mentoring where they taught you something new, Ravi? Because
Oh yeah, I think I actually hired. We were building this coordination team, and I hired a lot of youngsters from campus into that team. They were doing a lot of coordination. While the initial first couple of weeks they were very nervous, I was just amazed by just the sheer intelligence with which they approached the whole coordination paradigm. A couple
what
of
was that
them
coordination,
were
if you can?
uh, interview coordination, pre-onboarding documentation, and all that part of the work where you also have to be very high on candidate experience. You have to call them, you have to ask them,
Yeah,
when are you open for
yeah.
the interview? Are you coming for the interview? But I was also amazed in just 3-4 weeks. One of the coordinator came up and said, I know we are doing this calling, but I found this tool called Lucia or something on the web. Can we start implementing that tool? You need not, call them and all that. I was so amazed, like, the kind of thinking, right,
Yeah.
that they're bringing is to solve the problem, to actually move faster than what we have. So many
Okay.
ideas like that. Of course, they are the ones who actually took me on a Friday evening. They want to party, so we started that only after they came in. Or else, we never used
Oh,
to go out so many Fridays for lunches or evenings. But
oh,
I think so. It is both, right?
yeah.
On one side you're bringing this, on one side you're bringing your social life. I think if you have young kids, your social life also will they plan for trips, treks, and all
Oh,
that, and it actually, you actually embrace it better. I feel
yeah.
it's good to
Yeah.
have that
Hmm.
mix in the team.
Sure. No, no. Wonderfully put, Ravi. Now, no, I know. Let me go back to that, the global recruitment strategy, Ravi. I missed one point. Just, just a moment. Sorry. So, now, APAC segment, let's take an example along with your team, not only your personal, but I just want to understand along with your team experience. What are some of the hiring strategies, when you're recruiting globally, right? In India, it's different, and maybe in Singapore, it's different. In Australia, it is different. So, how do you assure a consistent and, a good hiring strategy, keeping the global objectives in mind, Ravi?
Yeah. So in most in most companies which have a global outlook, I think it's pretty standard. And to have a very, I think we are terming, or we are coining this new term called a global up approach, right?
Okay.
I think the global framework should be there, while there is a local flexibility and nuance in the market that you operate, right?
Mm.
Let's say the global values, let's say, of ensuring a fair, transparent recruiting process. Number one. Number two, looking at compliance, DEI,
Yeah.
customer experience. Those are standard. Actually,
Mm.
today, even if you're local or global, I think those are basic recruiting principles. Like, how do you ensure a great experience for every candidate, right?
Mm.
But locally, you may have, let's say, you will have maybe some rules, compliance, something to maintain. Let's say, while you don't have it in India, in some countries, you do need to complete maybe all the internal candidates first before posting external. Or if you go external, you may have, you know, you may have to choose from a particular section. So things like that continue to exist. So I think it is more, you know, local
Okay.
that we drive, and of course behavioral assessments. For example, when we are hiring candidates in India, the behavioral assessment may change for somebody who is in Australia or Singapore, right?
Yeah.
The approach, the kind of narrative or something that you do is slightly different.
Yeah.
So whatever global KPIs we have built for talent acquisition as a whole, we also use it in a local lens. We just maybe put it's a kind of prism or some kind of a lens that we see it locally and try to implement that,
Okay.
right? That's
Sure.
how we drive it.
Any any interesting transformational observation, Ravi, in any very conservative industry, maybe where uh, you gave more jobs to the women? I'm just taking gender as a
Yeah,
circumstance.
yeah. Of course, like I was speaking about the talent planning and strategy, right?
Yeah.
One of the about 4 years ago, globally, Cargill had this idea, or Cargill invested a lot on having diversity in our workplace, and it was a global goal to have
Okay.
50% diversity in leadership roles by 2025, 2030, and things like that. We
Okay.
have achieved uh, we have really gone some great strides in that direction. And India, so we had our MD at that time, Mr. Simon George, and of
Yeah.
course a few other leaders who came together, and they put a DI council team together, and we did a very good, I would say one of the best experiences was to improve diversity in hiring for me as a TA lead. And I think
Which geography or which
function in India,
in India? Okay.
in
Okay.
India. So what we did was actually, so we went back to the drawing board to see some data to first identify where we are. And then we took goals. We took goals as a recruiting team. Every recruiter carried a goal that if you're recruiting 100 roles, let a certain percentage, 35 be women. So we kept a goal that if you're recruiting 100 roles, let 35 be women. Now you choose, or it depends, right? We don't want to compromise on
Hmm.
skill, and there could be some roles where availability may be very tough. There could be some roles where talent pipelining may be difficult. So every recruiter was given an opportunity and the hiring manager to work with to actually see which roles are we seeing more women. So the recruiter also is taking more, talent insights to say,
Okay.
hey, hiring manager, you see, you are hiring for this role. I see
Yeah.
a lot of women. Can we work towards hiring a woman candidate for this role? So it was a very consultative approach. It was it was not fixed. It also gave the hiring manager a good view on talent, and then we kind of brought so many recruiters started working on pipelining and all that for that. And today, after 5 years, I can tell you, um, the we especially in external hiring, at a plant level where we were doing 2%, today we are at about 18% or 20%. Actually, in one of the years in technology hiring, in one particular year we achieved more than 35% of diversity hiring. In finance, we almost took to 45%. So we actually bifurcated according to the job family, talent availability, let's say commercial, right?
Yeah.
You don't find actually talent on the ground. Um, but
Mm.
even that, we were able to consistently drive double-digit numbers, because here you also require skill,
Yeah.
competency, location, many things actually work. The
Hmm.
other thing that we really did was, which I think is very interesting, is we actually even went by years of experience and levels kind of bifurcation. When we started off, we saw that the diversity in the junior levels is very healthy, I would say. Uh, but as you go on top,
Yeah.
obviously, in most companies it thins. So we focused on that particular mid-level kind of roles, wherein women also come, post their general break
Yeah.
cycle that they have.
Yeah.
So that, and that's where we started impacting a lot more. So
Okay.
that got us, that got more women into the fold. So we made very strategic decisions based on data, and that's how we kind of, I think we did very well.
Wow. No, that's a very good number, 45%, which you mentioned in finance. And out of curiosity, I want to ask, which are the skills that you mentioned were little difficult because you don't want to compromise on skills, Ravi?
No, usually commercial and plant locations are stuff. See, plant location also is in outskirts of a remote city. And for a woman to travel, 6 days a week to a plant, and it'll be in a tier two city. We have about 13 manufacturing plants in India. So it was very different. It was difficult to attract.
Got.
There are people, women who want to build their career, and it also goes back to this, right? One is skills. Let's say you in a plant you require something like packaging, for example.
Yeah.
You can hire from any packaging, maybe
Yeah.
industry as such.
Yeah.
But suppose if you look at maintenance, production, and all that, you require a certain set of experience or expertise in that particular machine or things like that, and that's where it becomes very tricky. When
Got.
those roles go up, then you need to have a different strategy. When generalist roles comes, that's where you fill a lot more. So it is that balance that you need to really strike, and I
Sure.
think commercial and plant were our biggest challenges, uh,
Got.
to be precise.
Any very good employer branding campaign that you have run at Cargill, Ravi, that has really worked for you, if you want to mention? Because initially you said even in India you had a problem with the employer branding. So how did you overcome that?
Yeah, so see, it is all about EVP, right? Cargill is an amazing organization. Actually, the purpose of Cargill to nourish the world is really, you will feel it, you will see it in every part of the organization. It is a very, the people focus is extremely high. So when we started maybe our journey as towards employer brand, I think we wanted to definitely position a very unique employee value proposition in the talent market, right? And of course, with the kind of diverse skills I hired, we kind of made very tailor-made employee value proposition for that particular business or function and things like that.
Hmm.
And we took a very organic approach. I think, like I said, one of the best things that happened to maybe our employer brand journey is, I think, given the way we dealt with our candidates and employees who joined, really became our brand ambassadors that helped
Okay.
us a lot more. We did not invest much in inorganic ways. That is not our modus
Hmm.
operandi. But I think because of the scale at which we operated and the experience we were giving, I think we that is the first step. I think the EVP was felt. The EVP that we were positioning in the market was felt by many candidates during their interactions with us, and that was the core of how we developed our EVP. There's still a lot of work to be done in employer brand. It's a journey, right? It's a journey
Yeah.
that you go through. But I think from where we were to what we are here, for example, some of the branding work we did increased in good applicant rates for us.
Hmm.
we achieved a very good net promoter score as well.
Hmm.
Then our recruiters need not reach out now. We are getting good quality applications into our ATS or into our
Hmm.
jobs, that recruiters are finding it little more easier to actually close the role. So
Hmm.
these are some measures we have kept as a TA to just see how we are doing, and I think we have come a long way with whatever we did. But it was a very structured plan. For example, we
Hmm.
have partnered. In some cases, we have partnered diversity and branding together.
Okay.
So we participated very well in a lot of virtual job fairs, which actually led to presenting our brand. We spoke a lot in many of these events, and that's how we have done it mostly very organically, and it was like a step by step. So
Hmm.
for example, especially in manufacturing, if to take an example, we did like a social media campaign, and
Okay.
then we went and we designed an event along with a partner for all manufacturing, for manufacturing excellence, that
Hmm.
brought people together,
Hmm.
and that gave us some presence in the manufacturing community as a company to reckon with. And we
Hmm.
furthered it up with some webinars, and
Hmm.
so we focused on the core of what we do as a company. We try to present our values, and that's how we continue to do.
Sure, sure. Because it's the manufacturing and there are a lot of efforts going on for the carbon zero and to
Yeah, sustainability and carbon zero emission is key. I think that's where the whole world is focused on, and Cargill also is.
yeah, so you have an exclusive team for that who takes care of the sustainability aspect, Ravi.
Yeah. We have a global team that looks at sustainability as well.
Okay.
And we also have a what we call as an environment, health, and safety team that supports it across. I mean, it disseminates the sustainable practices across the plant organization. So, yeah.
Sure. Sure. Sure, Ravi. Now shifting the gears, because our audience is mostly the SaaS founders. So, as far as Cargill is concerned, or your observation, Ravi, where do you see, the areas where Cargill is partnering or looking into the ideas, tech ideas, AI or Gen AI ideas from the startup ecosystem? If yes, how easy is the process? Are you still in the exploration stage, or you've already partnered with few startups, Ravi?
Yeah, so I think Cargill quite embraces through many dimensions. Of course, there is a lot of internal focus. All organizations today are looking at moving the digital way, and Cargill is no different to that. Of course, we do encourage a lot of these partnerships. We support the startup ecosystem as well, and we do a lot of, like, there are, especially, I mean, I may in TA, for example, we are working on a generative AI concept.
Okay.
How do we use generative AI to elevate employee experience, for example?
Hmm.
um, so that is just one proof of concept we're working on, like that across the industry, across
Hmm.
functions of businesses of Cargill. There is a
Okay.
lot of work which is going on,
Sure.
and yes, we do enable a lot of startups. We actually work together with them, and it depends on the enterprise we are working and what we want to
Yeah.
do, of course, but I think there is a lot of opportunity in that space.
Yeah, like you mentioned the other day, I think it is still in the nascent stage, because it's a very interesting phase where GCCs are transforming from just back office to the capability centers, and we understand the shift is no far, where there will be a lot of decisions taken by the key influencing people from from the GCC space. Ravi, what is your take? I mean,
Yeah. I think, I mean, from a GCC space, of course, there's a lot of excitement. Obviously, GCCs are transforming the way companies operate. They're unlocking the value. A lot of GCCs
Mm.
actually are getting into unlocking the value for the organization. There are many new ideas which are stemming up. For example, I have seen, like, I don't know how many companies did. But for example, in a GCC environment, we looked at new service capabilities, right? And we continue to keep looking at it. So traditionally, it is only HR, IT, finance, procurement kind of thing. But
Yeah.
now we are going beyond. We are looking at even deeper uh, opportunities within the enterprise to actually get delivered from a capability center. That is the thing. Secondly, analytics,
Yeah.
cybersecurity, AI, all
Yeah.
these centers of excellence are driving great value towards maybe developing products, or helping our processes internally, or working through very very meticulously helping the
Mm.
organization in better decision making and things like that, right? So
Mm.
that is another thing. Tools, system investments are happening, like the whole SAP transformation to today, every company is taking, right? SAP to, of course, S4 HANA as a
Mm.
cloud. Then all the tools that they're working on are getting optimized, are getting better, they're better
Yeah.
versions. And hence that whole change paradigm, this is the digital way
Yeah.
that is actually going to set in. There is, I saw a very beautiful product a couple of weeks ago, made in India, developed in India, which is agentic AI. I'm told that AI has got an IQ of 160, and some of the demonstrations the team had done, the Apna team,
Yeah.
I was really amazed. They were just out of the world. I mean, I just felt it's like a human speaking, and you can. I just my the ideas that you can do with it
Mm.
is it presents an enormous opportunity for all of us. So yeah.
Sure. We spoke about, partnering with the startups. I wanted to understand what are your metrics with which you are, verifying, or any checklist that you have, that are these funded, and do you find, the logos, which the use cases which they have. And the second is, what are some of the red flags that, you see before onboarding any startups, Ravi?
See, I think I'll call it generally. It may not be right to see what Cargill's philosophy is. Of course, every organization is looking to solve a problem. I recently met a TL leader who actually, went to a startup and built the entire product with greater customization for their organization. it
Okay.
was it was it was just amazing to hear his experience about how the startup came to sell a product, but they started working together on a prototype very exclusive for their own organization, and they built it to scale, right? So, every organization has some nuances like that. When it comes to large companies, of course, they want to see a more demonstrated experience. I think any organization, if I'm partnering, even today as a TA lead, if I'm partnering even a vendor to work with us, I would see if they've delivered some outcomes, if they understand our business and the enterprise,
Mm.
and if they are able to sustain or
Mm.
walk with us for a longer duration. And how are they going to improvise on the product or the service, and what are they doing about it, right?
Mm.
And those parameters I feel are important for any startup who want to liaise or implement their product. So it is not just about having logos. I don't think do really help. They can
Mm.
get you a foot in the door. Maybe they can get a lot more conviction. But ultimately, the problem you are going to solve for the organization? Is it a priority for the organization? Is it something the organization wants to achieve?
Okay.
So if you're agile in customizing your product, and if you're agile in customizing your service a little, depending on the nuance of the organization, I think you're creating a great win-win situation. So agility is important.
Mm.
Creating a trustworthiness is important. For example, data privacy becomes a very
Yeah.
important thing,
Yeah.
right? How are you governing, let's say, the GDPR, or while India doesn't
Yes.
have greater
HIPAA.
laws over
Mm.
that, but how are you going to ensure?
Mm.
Every global organization is concerned about data privacy, right? So, what
Sure.
controls do you have in your ecosystem that help in data privacy, or how do you have data control,
Mm.
security controls? All these become very important. I think that's where the crux is when you partner global organizations.
Sure, sure. And so you get to know about, how will the startup come to know that they can approach to you? Do you have types with like T hubs, organizations like that, or it is through the system integrators, the big players, the AWS
It
or
is both ways. It is both ways. So some come out of our own learnings, our own spaces when we speak. We also have a good group of integrators or consultants who keep working with us. So a lot of those ideas crop up from there. We also have, like, at least in my organization, we also have an incubator within. So that also,
okay.
I mean, that's for it. It helps employees do something, more interesting, that is aligned with our business goals, right? So we do support all those pilots within the organization.
So can
Um,
you share something more about that incubation, Ravi?
Yeah, so we fund, right? I mean, especially we fund in the sense we invest. Let's say a group of employees want to create something
Okay.
on their own. On its own, Cargill does provide the platform for them. But the selection of the idea, of course, happens through a process wherein it should be aligned to our goals and things like that. So.
Sure, sure. So, okay, so it is only for the employees. It's like in the R&D for of Cargill.
Yeah, it can go across anywhere, right? I mean,
Okay.
it should aid it should accelerate our business. So
Mm.
that's where we actually, and it's a global thing. It is not just individual. It's not individual dependent. It should align
Okay.
with what we got to
Oh,
do as an organization. Many organizations have these incubators in them that
mm.
are aiding now a new, I think it is bringing a lot more innovation to the organization.
Because I will share one example for, when we were, it is there in our podcast also, when we were talking to Kamal Sharma, who is the site leader at Career. So they have an exclusive team, like you mentioned. Their job itself is to scout out for, the innovative ideas and then onboard them and create a strategy of co-creation. So I was just wondering, is it similar to like that? Or?
Yeah, yeah. It is not, we don't have a separate team for it, but we value the ideas that are coming in within the organization. And
Mm.
then we find the right sponsor and mentor for them to
Mm.
actually drive, right? So, I mean, we don't, it is not just about tech, right? It is not
Mm.
just about tech for us. So it could be in agricultural supply chain. It is worldwide, you see, it
Yeah.
can be in, let's say, sourcing products. It could be in trading products. It could be in multiple things, right? So,
Mm, sure.
yeah.
In which I had, Ravi, taking your background into, consideration, you have earlier, you were an entrepreneur yourself, right? You were working with the executive search. Now, what was the, change that you observed hiring just for a 10-member team to hiring at a scale? So what was that, difference, Ravi?
Yeah, very interesting question. See, I would say that whether it's a startup or a large organization, the focus on having, let's say, the core of recruitment, which is to have a fair, transparent hiring process, to some of the values and the of the organization, and the basic parameters of recruiting don't change by much, right? They're almost very same. Um, the what I've seen is the talent strategy shifts dramatically with scale, right? In a
Mm.
10% startup, every hire is a bet on the future.
Yeah.
You also need people who are generally more agile, who can wear multiple hats.
Mm.
They are able to, navigate through ambiguity better, and they
Mm.
grow with the business, right? For TA, it is mostly about speed, the mindset, the chemistry, the buy-in with the organization. And, the process is much more simpler, faster, and it is just, much more, I wouldn't say easier, but I would say on the recruiting process side, it is much more less governed, or let's say less more tedious, right? In contrast, once you get into a global enterprise, I think the hiring is largely on specialization. Consistency,
Okay.
business acumen, of course, is common to both, but a higher, deeper. So I have this analogy of a T-shaped candidate.
Okay.
Usually you have an I-shaped candidate, that means who has subject matter expertise, and
Yeah.
then a horizontal candidate who has less of skill but has broader business acumen. So
Mm.
today, the world is converging into having more T-shaped candidates, somebody who has domain or business understanding and somebody who's equally deep as a subject matter expert, right?
Mm. Mm.
So in a global enterprise, the roles are much more clearly defined. It's not
Mm.
as agile as in a startup. And you also assess a more long-term capability in a very matrixed organization, right?
Mm. Mm.
So they're much more structured assessments. The compliance becomes central, and the process will be very robust,
Mm.
and so on. So startups hire mostly for acceleration, especially at a 10-member level. You hire somebody with a greater buy-in in the vision of the organization. There is a
Mm.
lot more acceleration. There's a lot more agility that the individual needs to bring in
Mm.
order to work in a startup ecosystem. Enterprises, of course, are all about scale, sustainability, and greater consistency and specialization. So both talent judgment will be there. The how you assess will be very clear, just
Mm.
that they're applied very differently. The approaches are slightly different.
Sure, sure. Thanks, Ravi. Thank you so much for sharing about, the different aspects which our startup founders will be finding it useful. Sure. So, then how is the flow happening? I know we discussed this earlier also, just for our audience. If because ultimately it has to go to the global, Ravi. So, uh, if you are liking some product, what it takes to convince to your other team members at locally, because the
It
implementation.
is not like a conviction, right? See, every organization, not only Cargill, but everywhere,
Mm.
when you look at it globally,
Mm.
right? It is a very different ball game. Uh, the charter globally is much has a very larger view, right?
Mm.
Like I spoke about global, right?
Mm.
So when you have a global view and you're implementing a product locally, is the flexibility that most global companies try, right? So
Okay.
at Cargill also we do that. A lot of things we are able to drive locally, which are regional, local requirements. But of course, it has to align with the centralized plan that the organization needs to accomplish,
Mm. Mm.
right? So that's where it takes usually time for any organization, for any global
Yeah.
organization.
Mm.
That's where it takes time, because unless there is a very dire need to do something locally, which is there.
Mm.
We want any organization will look at driving it
Mm.
globally. The implementation has to happen, in a certain way. The
Mm.
execution has to happen in a certain way. So globalization helps in even delivering the product locally. So when they
Okay.
first look at it, they look at it with a global lens. And here, even I today, I
Mm.
wouldn't really implement a product just for India. I
Okay.
wouldn't look at it just for India. I would look at it if I can solve a much bigger problem for Cargill, then I could take it to them. Until unless it's a more regional requirement that I'm doing, right?
Mm.
There, it's nowhere possible that I take it up, right, to global.
Mm.
So it is like that.
Sure.
It is not that there is no, it is not that people don't see it or are not influenced by it, but the priorities of the organization, are much different when you look at it globally. And they would want to ensure there is standardization of it across the globe. I don't know if
Sure.
I answered your question, but
No, 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 no. You really answered it, Ravi. So, how are you meeting them? Do you often travel? How do you maintain the rapport with the global team? Is it just a virtual meet, or you have to travel? You have to kind of, present like a workshop or something.
no, no, there are multi channels, right? We meet there are multitude of channels of information that gets disseminated, discussed, and there are multiple forums
Hmm.
that happens. You have ideation workshops, you have
Hmm.
you know so there's so many multiple channels happen, and globally also there are project teams, so all
Hmm.
get involved from every region. Somebody is representing based on expertise or things like that. So
Hmm.
that's how we kind of bring everybody together. The idea is to have a diverse perspective, and
Hmm.
of course ensure we meet, we maximize the
Hmm.
outreach as much as possible, right? Outreach of implementing a product or a solution.
Hmm. Hmm.
We kind of are eliminating all the loopholes at every region, at
Hmm.
every level. That's the thing that is
Sure.
important.
Sure, sure, Ravi. Now, coming to this talent, sorry, team building process, right? Because you have built some phenomenal teams. So, how do you ensure that there's a strong team building with a, strong understanding between the teams?
I think my core philosophy actually in working with teams is to build with trust and transparency. I think for me, I've always led my given trust and transparency. Cargill's people's focus or priorities have actually helped me develop more better as a manager, as a people leader as well, especially putting people first, right? Treating people with dignity and respect is one of our core values, and you will find it across Cargill. I mean, somehow it is in the DNA. So
Okay.
I think, in building a team, those are the principles I've used, and I
Okay.
think that is why we were able to achieve uh, quite cohesively all the goals we wanted to achieve. We back
Mm.
up each other. That I think it's all about setting a goal, setting the right culture, setting the right examples, and helping everybody grow. Right. I
Mm.
believe individually, my personal thing is we all come together to work and accomplish something.
Mm.
So let's work on it is where I actually bring everybody together. Let's do something magical together. That's the mantra. It can be anything, right? And if we fail, we all fail together. If we win, we all win together. I think that's the kind of approach that has helped me.
I'm sure it is easy said than done, Ravi. I mean,
Yeah.
more than different
No, I
categories.
think, like I said, the environment also really helps Cargill's
Okay.
people focus. Like I said, I'm a very big advocate and a fan of how we really drive. As an organization, actually, it's tremendous. I've not experienced this level of people focus or intensity in many places. So I'm very proud to be here, and that's one of the reasons actually people stick to Cargill a lot more, I think. But however, like I said, I think to build a team, all you need to create that trust and transparency amongst team members and bring a goal alignment together. That is very critical, is what my core belief is. And those are the only principles we worked on. Rest all are part of the process, but I think I kind of focused on that.
No, because you said goal alignment, one more thing, comes to my mind is business partnership, right? Because you also play a certain part as a business HRBP, right? Now, how do you ensure that, you see the business outcomes on everyday basis? You have a very strong SOPs and, stand-ups. How do you ensure that, there is, you communicate this to your team members, Ravi?
See, firstly, I think, we have to, let's say you take the question of a talent acquisition team today, right? In any organization, not just with us, but I think the talent acquisition team needs to hire a set of candidates faster. And every hiring manager who comes to you basically says, I want candidates as of yesterday, right?
Mhm.
The outcome is, the thing is, how do you really include them in your hiring and make equal partners is the key, right? And it doesn't happen overnight, right? First,
Yeah.
you have to demonstrate your capability as a team or as an individual, right? To actually deliver results and outcomes for them. Then you start working through influencing through the business to say, hey, we are hiring partners. We are partners in this, right? So when there is maybe less talent supply or less anything, you need to demonstrate that by taking the relevant data, insights back to the business and working with them, right? So and this happens over time. So how proactive you are, how responsive you are, how accountable you are, becomes very important for every recruiter or every talent acquisition team to respond to the business call, right? Business
So,
calls are usually, you know, for example,
yeah.
very early in my career, when I was recruiting, one of the managers told me, one of the hiring CEOs actually for a startup told me, I need a guy. Generally, we as search consultants say, okay, IT, IIM, the premier schools. He said, yes, all that is okay. Even if they don't have, it's okay. मैं I need a guy who understands business. मेरे को धंधा करने वाला बंदा चाहिए. That's what he said in Hindi. It always rings in my ears, even after 15 years now, that
Okay.
for a CEO or any business, right, the impact of not having the right talent is critical. Is actually can it is the most important thing for every business or a CEO, right? Because
Mhm.
talent is the driver, is the future forward for the organization. So
Organization.
talent acquisition teams need to be more ahead of the curve.
So I'm getting more curious here. Sorry to this thing,
Yeah.
Ravi. How do you then measure it? Like, do you have, like you mentioned about accountability? Do you regularly talk to the, for example, let's say the talent in data and data and analytics? Do you regularly talk to the data engineering head and you get their inputs? And from there,
Mhm.
you're maybe
Yes,
channelizing them
yes.
for upskilling or cross-functional.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Talent today is an integrated approach. I keep telling my team and many others as well, right? We are extended arms of the business. It is
Mhm.
not that hiring manager cannot sit and recruit. He can do the same Naukri posting and he will get the same responses,
Yeah.
right? But we are instruments that calibrate, and we are instruments to actually identify that talent for them. So I tell the hiring managers also, it is very important you calibrate your talent acquisition team. It is like making them sharp by giving them the
Yeah.
right inputs, what you need, what is it that you are expecting out of the candidate. The more you calibrate them, the your output is more better.
No, I'm saying that after they are joined, Ravi, and after
Yeah.
you're getting some review about them from the, for example, like I mentioned, the data engineering, data analytics engineer, right? And you get some review about him that, okay, these are the areas. So then do you take the initiative of upskilling or maybe, changing the roles like you mentioned earlier?
Yeah, that is part of the journey, right? For the individual also. It depends on performance, it depends on opportunity.
Hmm.
But there is obviously a constant segue to evolve, right? That is the DNA
Okay.
of the organization. So there is a HR business partner team, there is the whole group of managers who will actually help promote talent and drive the growth.
Sure, sure. Sure, Ravi. I think we've come to the end of the session. I have second last question, this which I asked to all my guests. So, as a leader, there are so many. I'm sure there are so many people who look up to you. So, what is your, go-to strategy for upskilling? Maybe which are the, how do you upskill yourself and keep abreast yourself? With any books or any audio books or any courses that you would recommend to our viewers, Ravi?
Yeah, actually, I'm not. I actually read quite a bit. Not the books, but I'm a very savvy digital reader, I would say.
Okay.
I read a lot of articles. I love reading like on the screen most times. So actually, it is just about. I always tell, like, even in for me to improve, I definitely use a lot of podcasts. I do think about or read generally about leadership styles and understand what is the new thing. I'm very invested and interested in startups and businesses,
Okay.
how companies build organizations and all that. So I'm very, very active reader, or try to understand the business model, the opportunities. And for a TA person, I believe, for any person these days, I think having that business sense and acumen is really critical and important. And that is the core of what you do. Once you understand the business, I think you will start getting ideas of how I can improve. What are the opportunities you can improve,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
And that brings projects, that brings opportunities, that brings your growth as an individual, right? It is the same evolution of the mind that we have, right? Like we spoke about Gen Zs who are evolved, much more evolved, or things like that. So they're the version two. So every organization needs to, from now the version 2 starts, it is like that. The world has become so dynamic that you need to upgrade, upskill, keep reading, keep working on yourself, keep reflecting. I find reflection to be a very important skill that everybody needs to have. At the end of the day, before, maybe if you're an early morning person as you wake up, or if you're a late night person before you sleep, reflect on your day, reflect on things what you could have done better.
Mm.
I believe in reflection a lot more. So reading and reflection are my two things that I use a lot.
Sure, sure. No, no,
And that's why you
interesting.
see more gray hair than usual on my head, because of the reflection maybe.
Sure, sure, Ravi. Now, last question. One advice to the startup founders who want to, kind of partner and want to really prosper, um, with along with the GCCs, Ravi.
Yeah, I think unlock the value is very important. I think startups, um, you know, being having been an entrepreneur, I know the kind of challenges they go through everybody, right? It's a hard world out there sometimes,
Yeah.
most times, right? Hard world in the sense some things may click, something may not click.
Mm.
I still believe, there is, I would say, a lot of opportunity, and today the marketplace is really global.
Mm.
Um, and I think the initial start is the only hardest part. And once you gain momentum, it
Mm.
becomes very easy. So I think one of the key things is having, maybe I can give only from a talent acquisition perspective, a little
Yeah.
more input, than, most of the other aspects. Um, so I think most of the startups need to hire more for the learning agility of the individual rather than just skill, right?
Yeah.
Hire for the future is one
Yeah.
advice I would like to give to all startup CEOs, startup companies,
Yeah.
maybe, and use a proper framework or assessment and build a very diverse work culture who can bring more ideas to the table. That is very clear. And I think be consistent in your purpose, your leadership style, and
Yeah.
provide meaningful work. I think these three are critical, I think, for startup founders to even think as they build their companies to just put some of these in practice.
Sure, sure. No, thanks so much, Ravi. Thoroughly enjoyed. And you must have observed that, somewhere I just went out of the framework of the podcast questions that I shared because the conversation was so natural. Thank you so much for sharing, insights with us. Really means a lot. And as I rightly said, leaders like you are playing a very important role, especially in the startup ecosystem. The time when I was talking to Simon, he immediately shared your name, and that's when I realized, in India, people like you are playing a very important role in taking out indigenous products across the globe. Uh, so thanks a lot, Ravi. I look forward to be in touch with you. Thanks a million again, and
Sure. Thank you.
yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Nageshwari, for the opportunity. And I wish Koot and your organization all the very best. Yes, we have to work together to make the industry thrive and
Yeah,
hence create a lot of economy and ecosystem for everybody to really grow, and everybody gets equal opportunity. So I'm very happy to support any organization or anybody who, in whatever best I can, in the best interest of the organization, and yeah, build the society together. Thank you so much.
absolutely. Thanks, Ravi.